Welcome. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm here again. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, even though I was on my phone, I was listening to some of what I heard you saying based on the experience that you've had pursuing your internship. Some of you talk about the confidence that you've gained in yourself as a result of participating in this internship. Some of you talk about the ability to identify with self in terms of your strengths. Some of you spoke about the ability to know or to recognize that you can compete with anyone. And I mean, I must say that I was pleased with what I heard because it sort of allowed me to say then that yes, our students are getting it. They're getting it. I mean, you're getting it. I think you should be proud of yourself to know that you've done several things. Number one, what you've done, you've started something and you've finished. And that is important. Because quite often a lot of folks start stuff, but they don't finish. They don't finish for varying reasons. And when you look at yourself, you look at, the cohort of students that started with you last fall. We had approximately 125 of you that started. We end up with almost less than 65% of you that stayed in the program. Less than 65 of you that completed the program. Of course, in some instances, there were reasons, extenuating circumstances where some folks could continue the program, which is fine. However, there are situations that could have been avoided. Nevertheless, I want to commend you for your fortitude, or what I call your statitude, because you were able to stay the course and complete what you've started. So if nothing else, I think that deserves a round of applause. Now, while you have gotten to that point, it's imperative that you do recognize that you have in your hands, both your left hand and your right hand, your destiny. It's imperative for you to recognize that you have to now take the experiences that you've gained from the different places where you did your internships and now begin to say, how can I then begin to take these experiences, what I've learned, and to then create a path that can help to augment who I am as a person. Because, there were some cases you learned listening skills, some cases writing skills, some cases other forms of communication, whether verbal or oral communication. Some cases you learn about timeliness, and of course, I can speak about a whole number of things that you might have learned during the process of this 1 year internship that you've done, right? Now, you now have to then take these skills that you've acquired or you've developed and then begin to transform it into a way in which you can help to augment who you are as a person. Let's keep in mind then that some of you may still have some time in school before you graduate. Some of you may be on the verge of graduation. Some of you may still have a way to go, but whatever path you're on, keep in mind then that it's up to you to follow through and do what it's going to take your game to the next level, right? Quite often, seeing students having these opportunities, and then the next steps, that's where a lot of us are stuck. We stuck at the nexus of what do we do next? Where do we go next? Where is all of what I've learned thus far academically? Where is all that I've learned socially and culturally? Where does it take me next? How am I going to then take what I've learned and then capitalize on it? You can take what you've learned and capitalize on it by identifying with your strengths and your weaknesses. Because I can come in, I can speak to you about a process, which I will, but at the same time, before we even get to the process, we have to think in terms of where do your strengths lie? Where do your weaknesses lie? How can you then begin to build on the strengths and the weaknesses, especially your weaknesses, or convert your weaknesses into strengths, so then that you can augment who you are as a person and best put your plan in place in order to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. So for example, those of you who are in the process of graduating, or those of you who are on the tail end of your academic journey here at Medgar Evers College, what are your plans for your next step? Do you have a plan? For those of you who are still here at Medgar, who may spend a year from here before graduation, 2 years from graduation, what are your plans? over the next 2 years, over the next year. Because if you're going to wait until the end point and then to begin to think in terms of, okay, what do I do next? I think it's going to be late. It's not too late, but it's late. Because, truth be told, you should be planning for the transition from your undergraduate during your sophomore year. That's where the planning really begins. Because remember, your sophomore year is when you're transitioning from freshman high school, or if you just came out of high school, but from your freshman year into your junior and senior year. In your sophomore year, you're thinking ahead, okay, what does that look like for me? What is it going to take for me? If I'm thinking to myself as a sophomore student, I want to go to grad school. If that's my next step beyond graduation, what standardized examinations are required of me based on what I intend to study? You got to be thinking about it. You got to think in terms of what is my timeline to graduation? Do I want to graduate in the spring semester or the fall semester based on where I am? And based on when you're graduating, it may mean then that you may have a gap year. If I have a gap year, what am I going to do with a gap year in order to help to still stay on track? Now, these are things that you should be thinking about and then begin to put a plan in place, because to tell you the truth, each and every one of you sitting here, whether or not you're graduating in 2 years, 1 year, or next week, or next month, you should have a plan. You should have a plan, an identifiable plan for yourself. That plan should be written. That plan should be your blueprint. That plan should be your guide. That's going to take your game to the next level. Because again, if you don't have a plan that you're working from, you're just existing. Friends, we saw with our 2 eyes the building that came up right in the corner of Rogers and Frog. We passed by it every day. First there was the demolition, the unearthing, then we just saw the pillars, the steel pillars, then from one transition to the next. How did that occur? That occurred because they had a plan. The plan is the blueprint that's guiding the day-to-day activities. What size is the door going to be? How wide are the bedrooms? How wide is the space for the bathrooms? So the construction workers are working from a plan, from the plumber, the electrician, everyone is working from a plan. So then they are then guided by what they do, and their timeline for COP or completion of project was built into the plan. So if you're talking about being on an academic journey to take your game to the next level, you need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, what you are doing, you're just simply existing. Or you're traveling a path without a destination. It's as though I'm going to take a journey to go to Alabama. I'm going to drive from New York to Alabama. Okay? Do I know exactly where I'm going? How am I going to get there? Of course, someone will say, well, you can use your GPS. But what if, while using my GPS, my phone shuts down? I'm in a car, I don't have an extension in order a portable extension to plug in. What am I going to do? I'm in the middle of nowhere. Do I have a plan? So intuitively, what is important for you to recognize, whether or not, as I said, you're graduating now, next week, next year, 2 years from now, you need to have a plan. Number 2, you need to have an identifiable vision statement for yourself. While you have a blueprint, which is your plan for yourself and how you're going to get there, you need a vision statement. That vision statement is how you see yourself in the context of where you are and where you're going. You need to have that vision of yourself. Quite often I've seen a lot of students come through in school, well, you know, what's your major? Nursing. Not in a nursing program. What's your major? Pre-med. There's no such thing as a pre-med major. But you would think it's a pre-med major because you may be majoring in biology. But are you saying to me then that a degree in biology, the only track that a person could go on is pre-medicine? There's so many other areas that you can go into without being classifying yourself as a pre-med major. But did you take time to explore? Did you take time to explore your strengths and then to create some sort of symbiosis with your strengths and the field that you want to get into? Did you take time to explore by speaking to someone who is in the field? Did you take time to explore by speaking to a mentor, somebody who can guide you? If you didn't, again, because you're going to fall short of what your intentions are. So the vision statement is what guides you. So the vision statement that you have for yourself is then you're saying to yourself, okay, this is my vision for myself, how I see myself in the context of where I am currently and where I'm going. Don't just sit on your two hands and believe then that you're going to be able to use them. Because if I'm going to sit on my both hands right now, can I write?
No.
So if you're going to sit on your skills, on your talent, can you grow?